has joined us. I will do the gavel. Nolan, you ready?
Ready.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll have opening remarks by Councilmember Joanne Bennett.
I'll give my remarks in the form of a prayer.
Thank you.
That's okay. Our Father in heaven, we gather together today and express our gratitude for the beautiful place that we live and for its many natural resources. We are thankful to be celebrating the anniversary, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration, the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. We are thankful for the Founding Fathers and for their bravery and their courage in standing up and fighting against tyranny and oppression. We pray, Heavenly Father, that Thou wilt bless each of us here in this room and beyond with that same spirit, that we will have courage and commitment to protect those residents in our county and to be the example for the rest of the state. We pray that Thy hand will be upon us. We pray that we will have enough faith to give us the power that we need to accomplish the impossible. We are faced with impossible tasks, and we do pray for Thy guidance. And we pray that we will be able to throw off the culture of raising taxes, that we'll be able to keep from raising taxes here in our county. We fervently pray for these blessings humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 You will stand with me. The pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, and again, welcome, everyone. We need to have a review and approval of the agenda. Does someone want to make a motion?
Move to approve the amended agenda.
Yes. And you want to second that, Nolan?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the amended agenda. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, review and approval of the minutes. I did not see anything. I didn't see any mistakes in the minutes. Does anyone else want to?
I did anything? I'll move to approve the minutes from our last council meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the meeting minutes from 8/11/2026. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, report of the county executive.
I have two appointments to make this evening subject to your advice and consent, and that is that Bryson Boehm and Matthew Funk be appointed to the Logan Cache Airport Authority Sponsor Board. Actually, I think the proper thing is the Logan Cache Airport Sponsor Board. The word authority is probably incorrect there.
Okay.
I'd move to go ahead and approve Bryson Boehm and Matthew Funk to that Logan Cache Airport Sponsor Board.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve, that we give our advice and consent to Bryson Boehm and Matthew Funk being appointed to the Logan Cache Airport Sponsor Board. Is there any discussion about that? Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, was there any other business that you wanted to discuss at this point?
Not at this point, Madam
We'll
Chairman.
We'll get to it later. Okay, items of special interest, the Cache County draft tentative budget. Is Matt gonna lead us in that discussion?
Yes, I think that will be my
Your purview.
responsibility here. Let's see here. All right. This year's budget is going to be a little smaller, both in terms of revenue and expenditures, than last year's budget. And the reason for that, of course, is federal funds are dropping because we've finished with ARPA, and those days are behind us. So I think this year we're looking at a budget that's scaled down about 8 or 9%. We started working on this, of course, back in May, and in May, we met with the department heads and gave them the guidance from the executive that we needed to be very frugal and modest in everything that we're doing here. And hands off to the department head. Hats off to the department heads. They responded very well to that request. In fact, I even had one department head who lowered her budget by, I think, about 7%. So, thanks to Amy for doing that. We had about $5.5 million in capital requests. The executive met with the department heads and lowered that as well, down to about $2.7 million. So right now, the budget is still being modified. We're still working at it, but we're looking at a budget of about $111 million. Again, that's down about 7.9% from last year. The general fund expenditure has increased a modest 4%. And fortunately, right now, we're working with looking at a surplus in the general fund of about $1 million. This budget does contemplate 4 tax increases. It turns out that because of changes to the way Medicaid is managed at the federal level, that the health department is going to need $360,000 more than is in their current assessment. So we would look at a $360,000 increase to the health fund. We have not increased funding on the assessing and collecting tax for about 12 years. That's a very modest fund. It's about $7 million, which is much smaller, for example, than the $24 million that we get in property tax to the general fund. But it's probably time to increase that. We're currently eating through our reserves at the rate of about $1.7 million a year, and that's only sustainable for 2 more years. So we're looking and contemplating a $1 million tax increase on the assessing and collecting fund. We're contemplating a small 1 or 2% increase to the general fund. Taxpayers have said very clearly that they do not like to see us hold that rate for years and years and years and then hit them with a large increase. So mindful of their feelings, particularly as expressed last year in the Truth in Taxation, I think we're going to look at a 1 or 2% increase in the general fund. The one tax that's rather significant is the municipal fire levy. Residents in the unincorporated areas of Cache County have been receiving fire protection that they haven't been paying for the last at least 5 decades. When a fire is called out in the unincorporated area and the fire trucks show up, those are all paid for by the cities, and those respond from the cities. And residents of Cache County who live in the cities have been footing the bill for residents of the unincorporated county. And so the executive, in an effort to address that inequality, is recommending a $716,000 tax increase that would fall only on residents of the unincorporated county. There's about, I think, 9,000 residents in that area of the county, and so they would be asked to start to pay for their fire protection. Those are the highlights of where we're at right now. Are there any questions that I can answer?
I have a question. The capital expenditures, you said there were $5 million in requests, and you guys, in talking with the department heads, got that down to $2.7 million. Are those extra requests things that are going to be more expensive later? They're still necessary, but we're just putting them off, and they're going to be more expensive to do later? Or are they things that truly don't need to be done now? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Is it something that's going to cost us more in the future?
No, great question. I'll give you an example. We had one department that asked for a piece of equipment that they just didn't need. $106,000 piece of equipment, and I'm sure feature they would have liked to have had was telehandler. They wanted a telehandler. But they've got a front-end loader and a skid steer, and the tasks that can be handled or accomplished with the telehandler could already be accomplished with the equipment they already had. Maybe not as comfortably, but, so that was a good example of something the executive just said, look. Then I think there was a request for a sprinkler system that would have been quite expensive, and I think the executive said, look, that's a luxury that we just can't deal with right now.
Okay.
We are, in the things that we're funding, we are replacing a 25-year-old front-end loader. The Public Works Department, kudos to them. They have really gotten as much life as they can out of that cat loader. It's got about 8,000 or 9,000 hours, I think. And there's a snowplow dump truck that we need to replace. We try to replace one of those every year. Generally, by the time we're finished with those, they have about 250,000 miles on them, and they are used up. And so this year, and then the other large item that comes to mind, the Sheriff's Department, of course, every year needs to refresh part of their fleet of patrol vehicles.
Okay, what other questions, council?
I had a question about HR and where those cuts were able to be made. Were those positions that were eliminated last year that didn't need to be backfilled? Were they?
We have county-wide eliminated, I think, at least 9 positions. Seven or eight in there. One of those is in HR. That's not going to be filled, and so that was a significant portion of that reduction.
Thanks.
Other council members? I have another question. When you said we're looking at about $1 million surplus, is that after these other increases, or is that, I mean, I know these don't go to the general fund, the $1 million is in the general fund, but then we're talking about the health fund and the assessing and collecting.
That's a good question. The $1 million, the one tax increase that is not yet contemplated in these figures would be the 1 or 2% to the general fund. And so that $1 million surplus does not contemplate that.
Okay,
I have a question.
please.
So on your general fund, you were talking about 1 to 2% based on the information we got. So is that anticipation that that will be yearly?
Well, again, in the various truth in taxations I've watched over the last couple of years, county has held off for, in some
Right.
cases, decades on raising taxes. And then we come in with a 12% increase or something. And the residents uniformly said, look, we don't want that. We'd rather have a 1 or 2% a year. And so that is, I think, going to be our focus going forward, is to try and accommodate that.
Just so we can answer questions on that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Matt, when you say 1 or 2%, are you suggesting holding the rate?
Yeah, that's a slightly outdated term and maybe a little bit imprecise, but that's exactly what we're doing. We're trying to hold the rate.
Not raise the rate.
Not raise, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
What I would suggest at this point, again, we're still working on this. Your next council meeting is on September 8th. What I would suggest, if possible, would be maybe a workshop before that council meeting, so we can dig into these numbers and really get into the nitty-gritty.
Matt, do you have any kind of a projected timeline of when we will receive paper copies or an electronic copy of the budget so that we can be prepared for that workshop?
I am actually ready today to send you a worksheet that has the line item for every single department. I would note that it should have the big word draft stamped on it, because I know, for example, on Monday, I'm meeting with a couple of department heads, and I haven't even had a chance to talk to the executive about this, maybe regarding a change of about $400,000. So I would note that this is draft, and these are absolutely subject to change, but they're very close to where we're going to end up. So I can send that out.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that the county residents have not been paying? Or, then that basically, because we've had interlocal agreements with several cities that would cover these areas. So I'm saying, I think there were some monies that were being sent to those cities to help in the coverage of those areas. So they have been paid, the county, an unincorporated area has been paying certain amounts.
Well, there are two interlocal agreements with cities that come to mind. One is an interlocal agreement that we entered into with Smithfield, where we were paying Smithfield about $100,000 a year to help Smithfield cover Richmond. But, and then there's an interlocal agreement where we paid the city of Logan $120,000 a year to provide fire protection up in the canyon. But outside of those two exceptions, and I'd even put an asterisk on Smithfield, residents in the unincorporated have not carried that burden. And I live in the unincorporated, and frankly, I was surprised to hear that when I did a study and came to realize that. So this is a need that probably needs to be addressed on those. And a thank you to the cities who have provided, again, decades of fire protection in the unincorporated areas without probably adequate and fair compensation.
Any other
I
questions?
think George was next.
I just want to compliment Matt and his office staff for the work they've been doing on the budget. This has been a pretty smooth process this year. The processing, we've had conferences with all the departments, and frankly, the conferences have been relatively low-key because the departments are not requesting significant increases. What's driving our budget is personnel cost. We are committed to providing a COLA to our employees, and that requires 2 to 3 to 4% increase in the expense. That's what, 60% of our budget, Matt, is personnel.
The vast majority.
So we can't provide a COLA to them without increasing the budget to cover that COLA. And it's 60% of our budget. So you start out with that handicap as you try and work through the budget. Bear in mind that the COLA is designed to simply reflect the cost of the change in the value of money. So an employee who gets a COLA does receive more dollars, but if we're doing the COLA correctly, the dollars are equivalent to what they received at the beginning of the next year. And I stand behind our decision, your decision, Matt's decision, that we are going to pay our workers fairly. And I think if you don't cover the COLA, you're reducing each of them by the cost of inflation each year. The other thing that's really driving our budget this year is cost of medical insurance. Now, we can diminish the insurance we give our employees, but I just have to tell you that one of the reasons people are willing to work for government is because of that benefit that they receive. And if we're not expanding the health insurance we're giving them, what we're on is a roller coaster that's riding mostly up, occasionally down with respect to that. Because that's the biggest driver of our budget, we will continue to have increases. And a person who pays property taxes, if the increase in their property taxes is basically inflation adjusted, that too reflects the same drivers as our COLA does with respect to our employees. It's the same process of adjusting things. Given this, I don't know how you can expect a government not to have to go through the truth in taxation process every year. If we don't do it one year, then the next year we have 2 years of COLA and 2 years of health insurance. So I just think it's a matter of housekeeping. We should look where we can save money, and we're going to make some suggestions to you. by reorganizing programs and things, but I'm not prepared to recommend to you a budget that doesn't provide for COLA and for health insurance for our employees. So that's my office's position there.
Okay, yeah.
My question was along those same lines of methodology, that I appreciate that methodology, by the way, and the explanation. One of the things that I appreciated last year is you talked about how, because there were a lot of anomalies with COVID, you tried to look at the pre-COVID budget, I think in 2019, and then you adjusted for inflation or COLA, as George mentioned, to get to last year. This $111 million budget that you gave us, do you feel like that's more reflective of what it was before COVID, now that ARPA money's expired?
At least
Do
partially.
you get
because- yes.
To ask it more generally, do you feel like we're getting back to normal as far as that goes?
Yes, the influx of federal funds, which I could discuss my philosophical leanings on that at length, has, from COVID, has 2026 was the last year for that. So this 2027 budget, we're back to doing it without those funds.
Yeah. Great.
Okay, any other questions for Matt or comments? Thank you for your hard work. I know that I personally feel very confident in the numbers that we're receiving and the work that your office is doing.
Thank you very much.
And appreciate that a lot. It makes our job more doable. Okay, it's time to set public hearings. Does someone want to make a motion on 7A?
Move to set the public hearing for September 8th at or 2026 at or about 5:30 for ordinance 2026-29 white fiber tower summit storage rezone and ordinance 2026-35 the bird family rezone.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to set the public hearings for September 8th for ordinance 2026-29 and 2026-35. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Let's go to 7B. This is one that I will just say right out the gate, there's been a lot of discussion today and some looking at state code and county code, and we're trying to do this in the proper way. And we're gonna turn some time over to our executive to discuss the process of filling vacancies on the Cache County Fire District Board of Trustees.
Thank you. I have prepared a memorandum to all the applicants to the fire board. I've tried to circulate this. If you haven't received this, I would appreciate if you'd come up and pick it up. I think it will help you understand what is a very complicated subject. If you're an applicant, please come and pick up one of those sheets. I'm just going to read the sheet, and I think this is a good way to start the public hearing so you'll understand what we're doing here. Dear applicants, thank you for your offer and willingness to serve as a trustee on the Cache Fire Protection District Board. I have received more than 30 applications. There is significant public interest in the CFPD, that's the acronym for Cache Fire Protection District. Utah's laws require a process for selection of trustees, including public notice, application, qualifications, and then selection. Cache County's form of government has an elected council and an elected executive. The interaction of Utah's statutory system and Cache County form of government make me, the county executive, act as the appointing authority, subject to and together with the county council, providing their advice and consent to the appointments. So I'm the appointing individual. I take this responsibility very seriously. I've given much thought to who should be appointed as trustee. I've talked about it incessantly for the last month and a half with council members and with applicants and with the mayors. The CFPD includes the entire county except Logan City. The city's participation in the CFPD is voluntary. I want to emphasize that. The city's participation in this program is voluntary. There is a process where they can choose, like Logan, not to participate in the CFPD. So it's voluntary. They have chosen at this point to participate. At this point in time, fire and EMS service in the county is primarily provided by municipalities. Not by the county and not by the fire district, but by municipalities. Those municipalities' fire departments are funded by municipal taxes and fees. The CFPD now includes, Cache County's contribution to this system has been to fund and provide EMS service in a portion of the South County. In addition to that, the county has provided equipment, training, support, and other things to the fire department. The county has been helping the situation, but it is primarily run by the municipalities. They are the ones that provide the resources, the fire departments, the fire engines, the firefighters, the administration, and the manpower. That's where the bulk of it comes from. In short, at this point, and for the foreseeable future, the Cache Fire Protection District will be dependent upon the voluntary participation of the cities and their willingness to fund that. Without their participation, cooperation, and continued funding, both directly from the taxes that are paid by their citizens to the cities and use of the funds that come from their citizens to the CEFD. I think I got those twisted up. CFPD, there we go. If someone leaves the fire district, the revenue leaves the fire district as well. So if the cities choose to leave, we will have virtually nothing. We will not be able to provide effective service to the smaller cities or the unincorporated area. The CFPD cannot succeed without the cities. That's the conclusion I've come to. We have to have their cooperation and participation. My experience in business, government, church, and life in general is that people support what they help create. If you want people to help you support something, give them a chance to help you decide how to do it. My belief is that the cities will continue to support the Cache Fire Protection District if they are involved in its creation, organization, and management. Now, given what I have explained in this memorandum and tonight, my present disposition is to choose mayors of the participating cities to be my initial appointment. That's my disposition. But I am interested in hearing what you have to say. I'm impressed by the qualifications of the people who have submitted applications. I'm open to considering an alternative. At the conclusion of this hearing, I will announce who I will make my initial appointments. But I am open to listening to your comments and to the advice of the council. Now, that's an opening to the public hearing. I think with that said, the public hearing is now open for comments about the whole system of appointment or which candidates or whatever you'd like to tell us about the operation of the Cache Fire Protection District. I don't know how many people there are that want to speak. Maybe you could raise your hands if you do want to speak. Let's see, we've only got 3 or 4. Seems like we could give each of them 5 minutes or less.
I was
if you
thinking
don't wanna-
3.
Pardon me?
Let's do 3 minutes. Let's
3
do 3
minutes?
minutes each, and Andrew will let you know when your 3 minutes have expired.
Point of order, do we need a motion to open a public hearing? Okay, it's already been scheduled?
Yeah.
Okay.
So with that, we'll go ahead and invite those that would like to speak to come forward. And if you want to just sit and line up right there and take your turn, we'd love to hear from you. Please state your name and where you're from, and Andrew will let you know when 3 minutes are up.
My name's Mike Weibel. I'm from Hyde Park. Retired battalion chief, spent 20 years with Smithfield Fire Department. Spent 26, 27 years teaching with the State Fire Academy. I am currently the emergency response coordinator with the Bear River Health Department. In light of what Mr. Dane said tonight, I'd like to encourage you to rethink that a little bit, and I appreciate your willingness to do that. And that is, you guys already have a direct connection to the mayors throughout the valley. You guys talk with them on a I hope you talk with them on a regular basis. Back in another lifetime when I was a newspaper reporter, I went to several of those meetings. I know you have those connections. I would like to try and convince you to look at, you've got a number of firefighters in the room here. You've got people with background of actually serving in those positions. Not to mention just citizens who have an active interest in serving in this position. I think that way it would actually broaden your ability to hear what the public wants to hear, because you would get the politicians, you would get the mayor's input, but this would also provide you an opportunity to hear from your average citizen. And when I say average, hopefully it also includes people with a background in the fire service and who understand how the fire service operates. I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
I am Tyrell Fredrickson. I'm the union president for the Firefighters of Cache Valley, Local 5630. On behalf of the Firefighters of Cache Valley, we'd like to offer our input as you consider the appointments to the Cache County Fire District Board, or whatever it's called. We encourage the council to consider a board made up of individuals with a broad range of backgrounds and experiences, including local elected officials, community leaders, and experienced fire service professionals. The fire district is responsible for our complex and evolving emergency service system. Decisions involving service delivery, personnel, finances, capital needs, and long-term planning that can have significant impacts across the communities served by the district. Having board members who understand these issues from different perspectives can lead to more informed discussion and better decision-making. As representatives of firefighters serving throughout Cache Valley, our local in particular is particularly familiar with the value of practical fire and EMS experience can bring to the mix. With that being said, I'd like to give a recommendation to the following individuals. Tom Maples, with 20 years of experience, 17 involving Smithfield, 15 with Salt Lake City, North Ogden, Northview, currently serving as an administrative battalion chief. Rick Cooper served with Lewiston Fire, Cache County Fire District for 28 years, serves Weber Fire District and is currently the fire warden as part of their administrative staff. Casey Snyder, 15 years of fire service with Paradise Fire and Rescue, 8 years serving as the representative in the Utah House of Representatives. Jack Tidrow, many years of experience and serves in the leadership of the Professional Firefighters of Utah. I would have liked to have endorsed Spencer Wynn, who had 20 years of experience with Weber, was a vice district president of the Professional Firefighters of Utah, and a former town council member of Paradise. However, due to extenuating circumstances, some of the council members may know his reasons, he has since pulled his application. We encourage the council to consider including one or more of these individuals as part of their broader group of appointees. Their fire service experience would add an important operational perspective while complementing the elected officials, community leaders, and members of the board. We believe this balance will help create a board that is well prepared and understands the issues before it and thoughtfully guide the fire district into the future. Respectfully, Firefighters of Cache Valley, Local 5630.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dave Nelson, born and raised in Cache Valley. I started in the fire service in 1972, retired in 2017. Worked in Hiram from 72 till 84. Also was an EMT from 76 until my time expired in 2020. I owned and operated FireMed for years. I've sold radios to everybody in this room. I've installed probably 90% of them in the fire trucks, police cars. I've got a good working relationship with every fire chief. I know them personally, the sheriff, police chiefs. I know all of them. I work very close with them. I also work with the 911 people on dispatch and that. I still today sell radios and work in the communication space. But I have a lot of knowledge I can share with these people here and give some insight into how the fire service should operate. It would be an honor and a pleasure to have that opportunity to serve in Cache Valley and make sure this gets off the ground in the right direction. And opening to listen to whatever feedback there is from the citizens and other people on the board and work together to create harmony and make it work for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, or evening, I guess now. My name is Michael Lyon. I was born and raised in Logan, went to Utah State, moved away from Cache Valley for a lot of times, actually moved east for 10 years, Wisconsin and Mississippi, moved back to Utah, and eventually made my way back to Cache Valley 6 years ago. I come with actually a little different perspective. I'm not a firefighter. I'm a member of the Beaver Mountain Ski Patrol, so I come with a perspective from the emergency first responder side. I get an opportunity to help the people on the ski resort, and I get an opportunity to interact, fortunately and unfortunately, with the paramedics and the first responders who come to our mountain regularly. So I put in an application for this position because when I moved back to the Valley, I wanted to get more involved in the community, but I'm not a politician, so I'm not somebody who wants to go out and, get elected to a position, but I want to make a difference in the community. And this gives me gives me an opportunity to be able to use my skills and use what I've learned as a first responder and as an emergency medical technician. Also what I've learned from emergency management on the patrol from my 12 years on the patrol to be able to hopefully take what I've learned there as well as what I've learned back east, being part of search and rescue in Mississippi as well, to hopefully maybe utilize that experience to interact and help those firefighters and others that are part of this group. Again, I come from a little bit different background, but I can see where that could be beneficial for something like this, to bring a different viewpoint into this different group and to maybe add to what is necessary for this. So again, it's a different background, but hopefully maybe you can take that into consideration as you're looking at the different sides to this. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ashley Smith. I'm with Paradise Fire. I'm the fire chief out there. I just like to second what most people have said before me. I feel you need a variety of input, not just mayors. It's nothing against the mayors. I've become very close with a lot of them because we've been in an exorbitant amount of meetings the last few months. But having people with different backgrounds and perspectives would bring valuable insight and allow you to see multiple sides of the coin rather than relying on one perspective. Sometimes decisions are made without fully understanding all of the potential causes and effects. Having a variety of voices and people with different experiences at the table can help identify those things before decisions are made. It can help eliminate the unintended consequences that can happen when all sides of the issues aren't fully understood. I believe having a broader range of input will ultimately lead to better informed decisions and better outcomes for the entire county.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak from the public?
Jeff Young, the mayor of Richmond. I guess I get to be the first mayor that comes up. I'm actually in agreement with George and his thought process. So one of the things that's really important when you have an advisory committee that directly affects the purse, it's really important where that's tied to. And it's tied to the people that are making the decisions that are voted. That's a really important piece. It's the same thing here. Like, you guys are directly tied to the purse, you're tied to the money, and you're tied to the vote of the people that get to choose where that is. And there is a good place for the professionals that are involved. And in our meetings, it's pretty apparent we have very different personalities, and that can be mixed on a board. But I will tell you, I'm 20 years now in having different meetings. You get politicians and you get fire personnel in there and everybody else, that's a pretty tough meeting because you have two different purposes. And the fire and EMS, their purpose is to save, which is absolutely critical. And we want that to stay the purpose. And then when it comes into the political side, it's our job to figure out how to make sure that we're budget properly and that we have the proper role that's in place with that. And as George has presented it, out of all the different things that have been presented, it's the first time that we have had a mutual, reasonable approach to try to figure out the way the county can work with the cities. The cities have been the ones responsible for the fire and EMS in general until just the last few years when the county took over the EMS side. But you look at Hiram and Smithfield and the other larger cities, they have been responsible for that. And in general have done a good job. And so we have to be really careful mixing too many different buckets when we have roles that each of us play. And those are really important roles. And as George has presented, it's the first time for me in 20 years being involved that I felt like the county was presenting an option that the cities could say, you know what, yeah, we can partner on this because we're willing to work together, which means the county for the first time is saying, we want the mayors to be a part of the boards directly because you're going to be responsible for the funds that are going to come out of your area. And that's also how you keep the county as a whole involved with the cities. Because if we allow the cities to be involved, then that means we are going to want this to stay together and intact. Then as George said, if we don't, what happens is if cities start flaking off, that complicates it. And it's not even if cities do. Pull Hiram and Smithfield out. I can tell you right now where the numbers go. They don't work. And the counties, someone's going to have to foot the bill on that. And we want to make sure we have a balance on that. So I appreciate George presenting that, and I fully support that.
Thank you.
I apologize that I'm coming a little late to the game, so I don't know exactly what's already been said, but I also am speaking as mayor of North Logan about, oh, sorry, Lindsay Peterson. I thought people kind of just knew.
We do. It's official record.
I urge you to, as Mayor Young mentioned, keep this initial setup point under the control of the mayors, because we are dealing with some very drastic financial implications for the cities. And I think where North Logan stands, we have been looking to see how this process plays out. But we are going to have to withdraw from it if we don't retain control over how it's set up, when it impacts very directly our taxation and the taxpayer dollars over which we are direct stewards in North Logan City. I appreciate the willingness of people to serve on this committee. It's crucial, and we need that, and I think we need the technical expertise at some point. But I think in this initial period where we're setting up the fire district or the fire board, that we need to have that voice from elected officials who can set the system up, and then certainly we will need the technical expertise as that continues forward. But I urge you to keep this in the municipal at least input from the beginning, and then at a later date. And certainly, I would say let's, for sure, I think Executive Daines has mentioned having a technical advisory committee that gives this technical advice to the Board of Trustees. But let's keep that board as it was previously constituted moving forward.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that's here from the public that would like to speak to us?
Chad Lindley, Mayor of Wellsville. I also would echo Mayor Peterson in the fact that we certainly need a starting point to move fire protection along in Cache County. The first meeting that I attended with the Board of Trustees, my comment leaving that board was, where are our fire people on the board? Where are those men that understand what firefighting is all about? In our committee in the South, an open meeting, we invite our fire chiefs, we invite fire personnel. We appreciate the input that we get each meeting from those good men and women that serve our communities. We also appreciate the fact that in order for us to be able to get funding, do the things that we need to do, our board has to be set up in the current fashion that it is. I appreciate Executive Daines' hard work for all of his commitment to fire in Cache County. I would hope that we are united. As a county, I believe in the South End, as we polled our mayors in our last advisory committee, everyone that was present was very much on board with the direction that we're going, the things that we are doing in that committee moving forward. Thank you for your time, and I certainly do appreciate our good fire people.
Thank you. Okay, who else would like to speak?
Thank you. My name's Jack Tidrow. I'm a Petersboro resident, 23 years. Love it. Stay away, please. Friends and family, always welcome. So I happen to be one of the applicants. You're either going to love what I say or you're going to hate it. And that's okay. I make no apologies for my demeanor. So I'm a 32-year firefighter with Salt Lake City, still active. Also EMT and a hazmat tech during that whole time. I've been a labor leader for 28 of those 32 years. So I'm one of the evil union guys. But our mission is to protect our people's rights and safety are our two priorities. So I'm also the firefighters' main face and voice at the legislature for 26 years, and especially the last 17. I'm the gatekeeper of the firefighter pension. So many people in this room I work with over the years, or will. Excuse me. And I'm not bragging, but it goes back to the mayor of North Logan. I'm very good at budgets. Working hand in hand with the labor management atmosphere my whole career. Very good at budgets. I'm familiar with CAFRs. I know how to conduct a municipal financial analysis, audits, GIS studies, and staffing models and what the staffing standards are for career and combination departments, which here in Cache Valley we have all of the above. And I think collectively they do a great job. And it's not so much a plug for me as an applicant, it's a plug as whoever is appointed as the other 5 trustees, that all these things are taken into consideration. We got some smart and experienced people. We're not just hose dragging knuckle draggers, you know, and we're not just road nurses. We have other skill sets too, and so I just want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else would like to speak from the public?
Hello. So I'm Tom Maples. I live in the unincorporated areas just outside Smithfield. Lovely place, love it. I agree with everything that's been said. One of the concerns that I have is if we only do mayors, we basically get one side of the coin. If we have a mix of everybody, then we get both. And one of the things is, however this district board is set up now, it's going to be very, very hard to change it in the future. So if we set up with all mayors, that's the way it's going to be for a very long time. And the voices that we want to hear from the firefighters, we won't ever actually get those. I think that we can have a good mix of both. To me, I think that the board is extremely important for helping the administration of the fire, but at the same time remembering that the tax money that we use is sacred. And we have to make sure that we're using that money the right way every single time. So I urge to have a good mix of both. I think that it's important to have those mayors there, but I also think it's important to have another side of the coin that's not just the mayors as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else? Please, this is your time.
Good evening, everybody. I was very excited to see the call and the organization of the fire board. I think with the recent events of the Logan Canyon fires.
Can you tell us your name, please? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So good evening. My name is Lucas Nchesin, and I'm a resident here in Cache County over in Providence. I'm very eager to contribute a combination of practical and local governance with experience in undergraduate student government, as well as technical problem solving as an engineer to potentially the role where we can prevent fires a little bit more, as well as actively fighting them as well, both to have the resources to keep them from entering our town and hopefully from starting in the first spot. So I served on the student government, working on the Ways and Means Committee, overseeing budget allocations and financial awards to different university clubs. Then here in Logan, I've served on the Parking Appeals Committee, working directly with the municipal policies, enforcement, and public accountability to make sure that all of the voices are heard through the community, from a review of peers as well as elected officials, as a combination between the two, so that kind of the common person can see and have an effect on the actions of our town as well. So I'm currently working as an electro-optical engineer. We design and analyze optical sensor systems. A lot of these are currently being used to predict, maintain fire threats and damage, as well as what paths they may track. And that knowledge allows me to evaluate potential proposals, equipment needs, and data-driven resources to be able to collect for further analysis within the Cache County District. So with that, I offer a strong balance of responsibility, local civic involvement, and technical insight, and would be honored to see that council come to fruition.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Miller. I'm the mayor of Hiram, and I am fully supportive of Executive Daines' motion this evening. His determination, I think, to give the independence to the municipalities in our valley, I think, is commendable. The one thing that I have noticed in our South End Steering Committee, I'll call it, is that every community has a voice. They have the opportunity to come and make suggestions and to determine the direction that they feel that the fire service needs to go. I don't know that they had that voice up until this time. I feel like under the old method, if you would, that sometimes the smaller communities got left out. And they're just as important. They're just as important in what they have to say as any community. And we felt in Hiram, we've had a resurgence, if you will. I feel like there's been an incredible resurgence of interest, of wanting to participate. There's a higher sense of community. And we feel like this is absolutely maybe the catalyst that has sparked that is recognizing that the South End has a committee made up of good people that all have a great interest in their communities. And I am fully supportive of this, and I just give a vote of thanks to Mr. Daines for his incredible stick-to-itiveness, because I know it's been a hard road to this point, but we're hoping now that it'll pay dividends. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak?
Shall we then close the public hearing?
That would take a motion by the council. Would someone make that motion?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Then moved and seconded that we close public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, and but this is kind of a joint public hearing. I also agree that the public hearing is now closed. I said that I would make appointments at the end of that hearing. Let me just start off by saying I respect every single person who has spoken. Your comments were understood, listened to, and I think you bring up good points. I agree that we need more experience, we need more training, we need more people who know fire involved in this process. The question is how to involve them and at what stage. The appointment of trustees, someone said, I believe you said this, it will never change. I disagree. I think it needs to change. I think as we move along this process, we need to get more variety in our board. But I think the initial point, which is to keep the cities together, I'm going to recommend that we appoint the mayors, and I'm going to provide a little bit more information as to how I've gone about that. First of all, I think it's very important that the entire valley be geographically represented in the board, that we have a mix of small cities and large cities. I also think that the positions on the board should reflect the funding that is provided by each city, so that the larger cities would have a seat and the smaller cities could join together to have a seat. I think because the county is also going to be representing the unincorporated area. They should be involved in it. In fact, I said I'm going to make 11 appointments. I think those appointments pretty much ought to be spread geographically throughout the county, and I think they ought to be spread based upon where the money's coming from to run the Cache Fire District. I am the appointing individual, and I just have to tell each of you that I do not see this as a precedent that will not be changed. I see it just the opposite. I think we need to start off with mayors, but shortly thereafter, as vacancies come up, I expect that the mayors are going to recommend that other people be appointed to the board. I just think that's the evolution that we'll go through. And I think that's fine. I think that's something to look forward to. With that said, I would propose the following appointments. Trustee number 1, Mayor of Smithfield, Aaron Rudy. Trustee number 2, Mayor of Hiram, Stephen Miller. Trustee number 3, Mayor of Nibley, Larry Jacobson. Trustee number 4, Mayor of Mendon, Ed Buse. Trustee number 5, Mayor of Providence, Kathleen Alder. Trustee number 6, Mayor of North Logan, Lindsay Peterson. Trustee number 7, Mayor of Lewiston, Brady Bodley. In mentioning Mr. Bodley, I would say that the small cities in the north collectively suggested that Mr. Bodley represent them. Mayor of Hyde Park, Tiffany Atkinson. I should also probably say, Ed, that the mayors of the smaller cities in the south recommended you to be a trustee. So those are 8 mayors. I also recommend that as trustee number 9, that council member David Erickson. As trustee number 10, I recommend council member Catherine Buse. Each of you represent both either the north or the south and the unincorporated areas. And I would also nominate myself, county executive, and George Daines. That's 11. As the statutes require that half of these trustees be appointed to 2-year terms and the other half to 4-year terms. Given that, I'm going to treat them in 2 groups, the odd-numbered trustees and the even-numbered trustee. I asked the county clerk to get a coin. Okay, so can you identify heads and tails on that coin?
Heads will be the top of the county courthouse here in Old County, and then tails is the Cache County logo.
Okay, this is the way it's going to work. If it comes up heads, the odd-numbered trustees will serve for 2 years. If it comes up tails, the trustees that are odd numbers will serve for 4. Will you please flip the coin? Heads.
Okay.
So that means that trustee number 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, myself included, will serve a term of 2 years. Now, these appointments are subject to the advice and consent of the county council.
Okay, we're going to move to item 8A on our agenda, and I just wanted to clarify something to everyone that's here. As members of a county government, everything we do is dictated by the state. We are a subdivision of the state, and this process is very clearly, well, I say it's very clearly defined. There was some muddiness that we had to deal with, but basically, when there's an appointing authority, which our executive is, and the council gives advice and consent, we do not have the power to change one of his appointments. We can deny if we want to and vote against it, but we do not have the power to say we want to substitute someone else instead. That's not in our purview. So before we take this vote, I wanted to clarify that grateful for all of you that spoke. There was, some of your sentiments were, the council holds them, but through a lot of vigorous discussions with our executive, we've come to this place, and so we're going to do the best we can to make this work. Before we start, I have Catherine's going to make a motion.
Oh, yes. I motion to accept the amended version of Resolution 2026-29, making the technical adjustments and rewording, and to include Exhibit A of Resolution 2026-29 to insert the 11 individuals proposed by the county executive for advice and consent to seats 1 through 11 as proposed.
Okay. Just so that you all know, if you look at in your packet on 8A2, the proposed amended version, there's a yellow line that was inserted today that before it was incorrect. It said the Cache County Council appoints, and that was incorrect. So it now says the Cache County Council provides advice and consent to the proposed appointed. So that is the only change to that resolution that we've had. And then now to insert those names. I know. So I've had a motion. Would you like to speak to that motion? Would you like to expand on that before we accept a second? Hang on.
No.
Okay, can I get a second then to that motion?
I have a second motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? This is the time for the council then to discuss this proposal.
I just had questions about, so what happens when these terms expire?
They will
what is
be
expected at that time?
They will be a fully functioning board, and they will replace their own members. At that point, it is not in the council's purview, I believe.
No, that's
No,
not
that's
correct.
not correct. We will not replace, the board will not replace its own members.
No,
It'll come
This
back to
board-
the.
This will come through the same process.
Excuse me, that's
Sorry.
what we've been going through this today.
Yeah.
So the executive would then appoint another member with the advice and consent of the council.
Yes.
When those terms are up, or people can reapply to fill that term again.
We'll have to go through the 30-day notice period again, followed by the executive making the appointment and the advice and consent of the council.
Okay.
Yeah, and any vacancies that occur, they're handled the same way.
Okay, what else? Any other discussion?
We talked, or it was alluded to earlier, that this is the way to start and that it will probably evolve or change. What is the process for it evolving or changing?
So the board can change its own bylaws. So that would be discussion that the board can take into consideration if they would like to change the membership through adding additional members. That is a decision that will be taken on the level of the board.
Okay.
Or any composition of geographical or anything like that. Will be taken at the level of the board.
Thanks. This might be a question for our attorney, but is there a minimum and maximum number of people that can be on that board?
3 minimum.
3 minimum.
I don't think there's a maximum, right?
The board can change their bylaws.
It's up to the board's bylaw.
There's a specific process the board
Okay.
has to do.
So to follow up further, unless there's appointments added, they would have to wait for either resignation or a term to expire before the composition of the board would change.
Okay, what else? Any further discussion?
I would like to.
Okay, please.
In listening to this, basically this board now, almost set up, unless there's some drastic changes, will never be a people's elected board as far as it actually going out to the people. If it's appointed by, elected officials, that's fine, but it will never be people that are elected specifically for the fire district. In other words, when people run, they'll run for mayor, but they won't be running for the fire district. And so I think that's something that was really important in the setup of this, that we always looked at that, so that we were hoping that within the 4-year period that we would have a totally people's elected board. And now I think we've taken a big, huge step back from that. I did love a lot of the comments from candidates, from other people and the mayors and everything. I understand everything that's been put together here. I understand all the process. It has not been what I would call a fun process. It has been, there's a lot of emotion in this. I am wholeheartedly behind a process that somehow we've got to get this board to look as a county as a whole. Basically almost lose our identity as representing certain cities and certain places, almost that we are representing the entire county in fire protection. And almost, yes, money is important, but you've got to look at people first. I love the comments about diversity. I love the comments, I think, from diversity creates a broader vision for things. I also like a more ground-up vision that is built rather than a top-down vision that has been built. I think we have done probably maybe the best that we have with trying to rebuild and trying to pull everything together. But I've always hoped that we get to a point to where it is the people that vote those people in. I don't know whether we'll ever get there. I love the applied experience that was shared. I like the applied experience over even elected as far as officials. I hope that those that are coming onto this board, that we can create a better and stronger vision for everybody as we look down the road. I just want to make sure that when everyone's there, when they come, that they aren't just representing their town. I hope they're representing Cache County.
Okay,
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I also want to express appreciation for everyone that has participated today and express my thoughts that I know that this board as constituted, even though we spoke a lot about money, which probably shouldn't be the driving force, really does have public safety as its #1 objective. And we will have change, but right now we are very much interested in promoting public safety in Cache County. And that is the driving force in everything that we are doing as a board. And there aren't other objectives. And we will be leaning heavily on the expertise of those that know so much more than us about public safety, and it will not fall on deaf ears. We need that expertise to help guide us as we make decisions.
I have a question.
Okay.
What would be the process if this does not pass?
Then the executive would give more names.
Oh, okay.
It's still his job to appoint. And I just want to reiterate what Catherine has said and thank her for her service for the last, has it been 2.5, 3 years as the fire board chairman, trying to pull this together. It's been a hefty lift, and I appreciate you. And what she said is true. I think every single person in this room is concerned for public safety of this county. And I think that when we keep that as our objective, it's going to work out. We've got good people, and we really appreciate all of you for being here. And with that, I have a motion.
Can I make?
Please.
So I read the emails that were sent to me, and I'm one of the guys who's in the unincorporated part of the county. So I have been a benefactor of the Wellsville Fire Department many times. I grew up on a dairy, and we had hay fires and everything else, and the guys responded like crazy. I tip my hat to everybody who is a firefighter. And thus I have a question for the executive. Somebody mentioned a technical board. Can and could we get that going fast so that we get the union of, and unification of our firefighters, and that they feel like that they're got a voice, because I love that the mayors are here, and the south end of Cache County mayors, thank you for being here, because that's where I'm from, but I'd like to know about that technical board.
Okay. I probably should have mentioned that. I had a list of things I wanted to talk about, and I didn't mention that. First, let me emphasize, I believe Mayor Lindley talked a little bit about the Smithfield Steering Committee. And there is also
The
a
south-
north.
the south end.
Excuse me, I got
South-
north and
South
south
Cache.
tangled up.
South Cache.
He talked about the South Steering Committee. They've had 4 meetings, and then they formed a subcommittee on their EMS program, and that group has met 3 or 4 times. I've been to those meetings. When we're in those meetings, we're getting that technical advice from Chief George, from Tony, who's fire chief in Hiram. There's a whole group of people who are providing technical help. We need that technical help. These people who stood up and offered to help and are talking about needing that, that's a necessary part of getting the job done here. So our fire board will meet tomorrow. I'm a member of the fire board if you approve me. I intend to make a motion to appoint a technical committee, and frankly, I'm going to start with the applicants who have talked tonight and who have not talked but who've provided application. Their willingness to help us focus on these issues is super critical. I think it's needed, and I think the mayors know that that's needed. Now, when you're Mayor Miller has a whole fire department with 75 years of experience, and those people are themselves engaged in those steering committee discussions. So it is coming in. Is it on the fire board? No, and the fire board needs that committee to accomplish what it's trying to. Let me just say, I think there will come a time when a mayor says, you know, I think this thing's off and running. I'm going to resign. I'd like to propose X person to represent these smaller cities. Or the idea that the mayors want this responsibility, I think it will evolve. Will it evolve so they're elected? They have the right as a board to come back to us and tell us that they should switch to elected. That can happen. But it won't be just you that makes that decision. It will be the fire board that will make that decision. I have to tell you that the mayors are concerned about the county. They are not looking after just their own cities. I just haven't seen that, to be honest with you. I think they are genuinely interested the same way you're interested in getting the job done here. And they know what they lack, and they do lack experience and technical knowledge. That's a necessary part of what they're doing.
Can I ask one more question? In the memo you sent to the council, you talked about a state statute and how the board would compose and being paid in that. Would you give some clarification to that?
Say that again.
The memo you sent out to the county council, there's a part in there that talks about the state statute and compensation and being on the board.
Yeah, there is
conflict.
There is, and just how that complication is interpreted is a question that we'll probably have to have a lawyer look at. But it prohibits anyone serving on the board who has a contract or who is an employee of the fire board.
Fire district.
So what they're trying to do is keep those individuals off. Now, does someone's participation in a city where they're employed by the city constitute a situation where there's funds that are being paid to that fire department by the county? Does that constitute being under contract? I can't answer that. I just say it is a complication that we've got to look at. I think the one individual mentioned that he sells radios to the thing. I don't know if that disqualifies him or not. I would need a legal opinion on that issue as to whether those kinds of relationship prohibit one from serving on the board. But many of these applicants are not even involved with the fire locally, have experience in Weber County or somewhere else. So I don't know if there would be any reason why they couldn't serve on the board if requested. But that was the state statute I was
Okay,
concerned
I
with.
was reading that and wanted clarification on it, so thank you. So, those are my points of discussion.
Thank you. Okay, Council, Keegan, anything
I
else?
think Mark had something.
I was just gonna say, I strongly support the idea that this board become, if action is, operate as a district where membership is elected for that purpose. I think that's an important part of the success down the road for this. Given the situation that we are in, we're starting up the board, if you will. I feel like this is the only option we have. That's the extent of the effort has been to shore up that the first action to appoint the board is done correctly so that it's not an issue. But down the road, I think that's great advice that it become a elected position, especially if they have taxing authority, right?
Thanks, Mark.
I think just what I wanted to say and what I'm concerned about is I've talked to a lot of the mayors that are here and have a lot of respect and trust. We've had conversations, we've done business together. So what I'm about to say has no bearing on the personalities. I think one of the important components of government is to set up a system that is separate from personalities. And I do have concerns about not having expertise on the board. I do have concerns about doing something now because we're stating that we're going to do it later. I think that would require potentially someone who's on the board voting themselves off that board, which I'm not saying I don't trust anyone to do that, but I do have concerns about setting a system up that way. And if someone can resolve my concerns, I would appreciate it, but that's what I'm wrestling with right now.
I think they could also vote to expand their numbers if they wanted to and just add people to the board.
There is some vagueness about there's been a statement that there may be people added to the board. There's also been a statement that there may be added to a separate committee. So I think there are desires, but those are unclear to me.
Well, I think those are questions for members of the board rather than this body.
Right, which is, I think what I'm saying is if there is no technical expertise on the board, that I don't know if that concern will be resolved. So.
Anybody else? All right, I have a motion that has been seconded that we approve the names that have been given to us by the executive to be appointed to the Cache County Fire Protection District Board of Trustees. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. So it was a 4-3 vote. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for participating in the process. It's sometimes messy, but we do the best we can. Let's move to 8B, Resolution 2026-30, appointing members of the Cache County Economic Opportunity Advisory Board. For those of you who want to leave, we'll give you a minute. Would you just close the door when you go out so that we can keep a little bit of quiet in here? Okay, we'll turn the time over to Mr. Milne.
Good evening, Sean Milne, Bear River Association of Governments, Director of Economic Development. Since I've had the opportunity to be twice before you in the last month or so, I'll kind of skip the overview. I hope that each of you are aware of what we're asking for this evening as the CEO Board, or County Economic Opportunity Advisory Board, goes by in short. The CEO Board needs to be reconstituted. You'll likely recall, I've previously mentioned that we had some vacancies, a few of which were created because the state GOED. The state legislature has given this appropriation for the last several years, and through administrative rules changes, there are a couple worth noting. They wanted elected officials of this body that were previously serving on the CEO board to not be there anymore, feeling that it might be a conflict of interest or create undue influence of the other board members. That's one. The other is that they had previously 2-year terms, and they've updated that to be 4-year terms. So what you have before you is an expanded list, even from the last time I was in front of you. There, upon your direction, I collected resumes from individuals that were nominated either by yourself, other CEO board members, my own suggestions, and a whole lot to be able to bring before you these folks that, as Councilman Erickson said in the last agenda item, appreciating diversity, there are required perspectives that must be in this mix. There are a minimum of 5 members that are needing to be in this mix. This, as you can clearly count, goes well beyond 5. I think that that's good for a couple of reasons. One is because it adds diversification to the perspective. It has been this body's suggestion to expand beyond the 5 so that you include industry representatives of those industries you would like to see continued or to be promoted more of within Cache County. And so a column that is just to the right-hand side there that I added from the last time it was here is of some of their background. It's in shorthand, of course. Happy to answer any particular questions you have. But other than providing the, as it's asterisked off to the right-hand side there, roughly half to go according to the predetermined terms of office that GOED has suggested, meaning from 2023 to 2026 being 4 years, and alternatively 2025 to 2028. It gives some institutional knowledge for those 3 remaining members and several others that are nominees, as well as the then other half, roughly, the 4-year stagger that GOED would like to see. So what you can assume from this is that I would be before you probably in December to ask for either reappointment of those folks that would expire at the end of this calendar year, or to replace some of those members. So at this time, I'll pause to see if you have any questions.
Does anyone have questions for Sean? I hope you were all able to read the resumes that we received on these individuals. And before we take a vote, for full disclosure, Wayne Dodd is my dorky little brother. So, but he's awesome. He'd be great.
With that big a board, how do you get anything done?
Well, they don't always come.
They are advice and consent to you. They are advisory only, and you have the ultimate authority as the local legislative
Well,
body.
that's a good board. But I'm just saying, sometimes you just get so many.
I agree. I understand where you're coming from. I appreciate that perspective. Again, I think that it adds a lot of diversity of perspective. I appreciate that we have from very sophisticated tech sector that we're home to here in Cache, to the agri sector, which sometimes folks will think will be bookend to sophistication, but our ag industry is very sophisticated, and I'm proud to represent an industry locale with such diversity in the industries. I know that
several of those are in certain industries, but they're also very involved in the ag sector on the side.
Yep.
Several of them, I know that. So.
Yeah, it has been your body's intention, even with the appointees from this body that in previous years occupied it, like with Chairwoman Sandy. She's been a business owner as well as county council member. Ditto. I mean, Keegan represents an ag sector employer as well as being one of your own, and Mark with Photonics, high tech, and one of your own. So as often, well, let me rephrase it. I'll be a little bit more blunt in how I say this. When GOED suggested through administrative rules that they wanted your participation vacated from this body, I had reminded them that it was your norm that one of you would be on different boards and committees, so I was able to report back to the body and give some validity to the merit and integrity of those conversations, as well as the fact that none of you are just exclusively representing, some bureaucratic point of view as a government official, that you are oftentimes wearing 2 or 3 hats. Be as it is, they said, that's great. We still mean this, and so that's what we expect and want. But to Councilman Erickson's point, a lot of these individuals represent more than just one perspective that's listed in that column. So,
Okay, does anyone else have questions for Sean? I would take a motion on this resolution.
I would suspend the rules for Resolution 2026-30, appointing members of the Cache County Economic Opportunity Advisory Board, and that we approve those who are listed there. I think it's a great list.
And I don't think we need to suspend the rules on a resolution.
That's true.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second that we approve Resolution 2026-30. Is there any further discussion? Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Excellent, thank you very much. I look forward to knowing my time later. Yeah.
We appreciate it, Sean. Okay, 8C, Resolution 2026-31. This is appointing members of the council to the Logan Cache Airport Authority Sponsor Board. We discussed this in our last meeting and decided that those three representatives, as a group, we decided it would be Keegan, Nolan, and Mark. But if there's anyone that wants to discuss that or change that, or before we make...
No.
I didn't ask you specifically. No.
Was there a duration on that
Yes,
appointment?
there
Is
is.
it annual?
No. There's a term, Mark's term ends in 2027, Keegan and Nolan ends in 2029.
In Section E.
2029. Probably let you know.
Probably.
You know,
Section
that North Star isn't shining so brightly tonight, brother.
Probably I should have explained a little bit of terms of office. When, under the fire board situation, the terms are,
When do they
the year
start?
in which you're nominated does not count as part of your 2
That's,
years.
I wondered if it starts January 1st, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, your term starts now, but the initial one will go 3 months plus 2 years. This one is different than that. I think this is just a clock appointment to the board that will expire when it expires.
Okay, so if anyone wants to discuss that, or someone wants to make a motion for me?
I move to approve Resolution 2026-31, appointing members of the County Council to the Logan Cache Airport Sponsor Board.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve Resolution 2026-31. Is there any further discussion about that?
I think the opportunity of this board is immense.
I do too. I think it's a really
there's some
important.
fascinating things can happen. I think I think we're right on the edge of just fascinating things to come from that airport, so.
I agree. It's a great
First thing
idea.
we'll do is invite some of you guys there to talk with us.
Yeah.
Sure we don't mess it up, huh?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? You can't do a half aye.
Tie goes to the runner, just for the record.
All right. Pending items. 9A, multi-jurisdiction access request. Matt. This is one that we had talked about last time, and I don't know if anyone was able to get their questions answered or have any other things to say about it.
Wait, which one was this one? Was this one Providence?
So, yes,
Yes.
just
Is this the Danny McFarland's?
correct.
Oh,
Yeah, that's fine.
As a reminder, it's a 3-acre development, 12 lots proposed coming out within Providence City, accessing the county road Highway 238. So what you have before you is a resolution to approve or deny that access onto the county road.
Okay, Matt, tell us from the county roads perspective, are there issues that that you feel like need to be dealt with before we take a motion on this? Or is it because we're still working on the whole position of the ownership of the road? Are we okay to do this in the meantime? We're looking for your recommendation.
So, given the current situation of negotiations with the county and Providence, that's one of the issues that we have with this, is because it's managed, roads are managed different in the county than they are in the city. So if this was going to be a long-term county managed road, our decisions and outcome would be different than a Providence managed road. So what you said, Sandy, is exactly spot on. If we would approve this if this is going into Providence, and probably not support it if it's going into county. We're looking at transportation and regional perspectives instead of local perspectives and local development. So this is a smaller development. It's 12 lots. In the transportation world, that's about 10 trips per day, so you're looking at 5 or 6 more cars in the morning at the stop signs in Providence using those roads. So we're not talking about 50, 60 lot subdivision. It is very minor. So at this point, from my perspective, I would recommend approval for this one, just based on the size, knowing that we're continuing those.
And approval of this will not encumber more costs right now?
No.
Okay.
Is there anything different on this than the River Heights one? Because the River Heights stood out for so long.
River Heights one, the same situation in negotiations with River Heights. That was a bigger subdivision.
It was.
So it would have added more traffic. They're basically the same issue, Nolan, is at some point the county either needs to manage this as a county type road and limit access and limit development and try to get these cities to work with developers to find alternate accesses, side roads, as opposed to just continuing to add more accesses onto our road, which slows down the transportation, which, you know, adds the school crossings that we've talked about in the last few weeks. That's more traffic for the school crossings. And also, if we're going to continue to see development and the county needs to, you know, put more money into this, we probably need to look at some kind of an impact fee so that these developments are paying some kind of a portion of those impacts to the county, because other than that, the county is not getting anything from these developments. They're cities are putting their utilities in there to service them. They function as a city road.
So is River Heights, the developer, at a dead place right now, or where do they sit on that one?
They're going through the land development process, Nolan, and as far as I'm aware of, they're just working through that subdivision process with River Heights.
Because personally, I don't want to approve this one if the River Heights, who was before us, isn't anywhere as well.
So this one would be the same way, right? They can't really move forward with any additional cities. I think they have a rezone that's been approved so that they can get this density that they're after, but until they get this access, they won't move forward with that land development or applications to the city for their subdivision. So they're both kind of in that, they're asking the question now to the county, because if the county was to say no, then they're gonna have to go back and decide whether that development's feasible or not.
Okay, who else has questions for Matt about this?
That does have a pretty big impact, doesn't it, on whether it's turned over to the cities or not? This approval?
Well, I would say this approval, if the cities, that's a hard question, because the cities are gonna have more to do with how they approve the development and see that from beginning to end, where the county just sees a small sliver of that, and we're not a part of the rezones, we're not a part of that we don't have any other say but whether they get an access. So in a way, we're kind of like UDOT when you come to the county and these developments around the county are asking for rezones, and we rezone that. The next thing they're to UDOT asking for access onto UDOT's highway. So similar to how the county works in the unincorporated area, this is very similar to that. Is they're only coming to the county for that access. As far as the development, how all those types of things, we don't have a say in.
So we never did give approval for the River Heights one, right?
You guys did get approval.
I thought it was like a 5-3, 5-2 vote.
And this one's.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it would be good going forward that maybe in this vote, if the council has any suggestions for these cities or for future applicants, that maybe that can be a part of your vote. But once you guys vote, then that would go back to the engineering department to make sure all the standards as far as construction and all that would be followed. So.
Okay. Anybody else
I
have-
just continue to draw a concern that we're approving accesses to a road that is, in all intents and purposes, not a county road. Let's just get this problem off our plate.
I think it's in the works.
Not yours.
So how do you get it off?
We abandon the road to the cities.
Wrap it up
But
and put it
it
in a,
doesn't
on a
go
bow
with
on it
this
and give
road.
it to them.
There's ongoing negotiations. Are they still working through that, Matt?
Yes,
That-
George has been working very actively on that, so.
Okay.
Maybe that could be included in the executive's report next meeting, an update on that.
That'd be great.
Did you all receive my memorandum about the back
Yeah.
and forth of
Yeah.
what's
Yes,
happening
we
here?
did.
We did.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
Yeah.
I think that we're trying to do the best we can. We're gonna maintain that road as a county road. We do have the complication, and I recognize, Dane, your opinion about that we have the ability to disclaim ownership. We have a duty to care for the road to a certain specification. We're planning still on doing a chip and seal and getting that done on the road this fall, correct, Matt?
Yep.
I think once we have brought the road up to that standard, I am prepared to have a discussion at that point with the county council, but I think we have a duty. Road is updated every 7 or 8 years. This one's due for that. I think at a minimum, we ought to do that. I am sorry we were not able to work anything out with Providence City. I'm just sorry about that. I think it's to their detriment, but I've done just about everything I can to encourage them to do it. I think we repair the road and then we have a hearing and decide whether we're at that point going to disclaim it. But between now and then, I think third parties that want access, what Matt suggested is what we ought to be doing.
Matt, I think you may have answered this already, but this is built to Providence City specs, right? Or do we?
So anything within the right of way would be built to county specs.
Right.
But just, I mean, do we
So,
care?
After that, everything.
Do we
with-
care?
No.
No? Okay.
I wondered if,
I'd like to make a motion
okay,
that we approve resolution 2026-28, multi-jurisdiction access request.
Second.
okay. Keegan, do you want to speak to that? Do you want to tell us why you support that?
Well, I think for one, our roads department supports it, and it's a small development, the impact is minimal, and it sounds like we also have a solution prepared for the future of that road as well, so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have a motion and a second that we approve resolution 2026-28. Is there any further discussion? Okay, those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Matt. Okay, Andrew.
Good evening, Council. Before you is the proposed ordinance regarding the wraps and restaurant policy revisions. This did go to O&P after the last county council meeting, and there were some discussions. I do have a brief handout of a summary of what was done and some of the arguments for and against one of the issues. So I'll hand that out now.
Were these really arguments?
We missed you at the meeting.
There's discussion. Robust discussion?
Oh, robust discussion, okay. Still a pig.
So there were, the first issue that was discussed in OMP was the language that was talked about regarding the return of funds versus the actual forfeiture. So the language, instead of saying returning of funds or clawback of funds, it's now amended to read as more forfeiture language instead. So that meets the process. The second issue that was discussed with this ordinance was regarding attribution and logo requirements. This was raised by Councilmember Keegan Garrity, and the language was amended such that there is now a requirement for attribution to the RAPS and restaurant tax program if an applicant received funds from that program. The county executive did raise concerns about a 2/3 vote requirement, and after the committee discussed the issue for a while, the 2/3 vote in the out-of-cycle process was then changed to just a simple majority instead. Now, the fourth issue is still outstanding. The Ordinance and Policy Review Committee did not make a specific recommendation regarding if there should be a high bar or any sort of limitation regarding out-of-cycle restrictions. And so there were really two, there was arguments for the restrictions, which basically summarize, say, out-of-cycle applicants, how do I say this? Excuse me. Basically, if this out-of-cycle restrictions were held, it would have to be high because it's already creating an out-of-cycle application where there's less fairness and competition against being evaluated against other projects at the same time. It would allow off-cycle requests if there weren't any standards, then that would incentivize applications to bypass the normal process, and that would lead to a lot of frequent requests before the county council. It would potentially bog down the council agenda. And the third on the arguments for out-of-cycle restrictions was decisions involving public money should prioritize thorough oversight over essentially being expedient and quick in making sure that those funds are dispersed. But then there were the arguments against the out-of-cycle restrictions, saying that the strict limitations basically limit the council's ability to evaluate unusual circumstances as they may arise, especially when allocated funds remain unused. And the second being rigid deadlines can hinder the core goal of these funds, which is distributing funding efficiently to the places where they can provide the most good. That being said, there was no specific change other than the 2/3 vote requirement to the out-of-cycle process, so that remains unchanged otherwise from the last county council meeting. So, does anyone have any questions?
Keegan, you and Mark were in the OMP meeting, correct? Do either one of you want to speak to this, to the rest of us?
I feel like the summary provided here was good, was concise, to maybe add a little extra granularity to it. Without changing the items addressed under section 4, then that permits the process, right? Yes. So it's really just up to us now as this body to decide if we want to pass it with the modifications that are basically 1, 2, 3, or if we want to push back to OMP and look for specific recommendations for section 4 on whether or not there be restrictions added to the off-cycle process.
I can elaborate too, and maybe add some research that Andrew did on what other jurisdictions are doing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we saw even one other jurisdiction that allows exceptions, is it?
So on the research that's being distributed right now, there are very limited exceptions, but those are mostly just internal rewards. If the city or county has a reward and they want to change the scope or maybe use some of the funds internally, some allow for some limited scope change or out-of-cycle process, but otherwise, no.
Not that we have to do what others do, but I think it is helpful to understand how it's being handled in other areas. To elaborate on some of the arguments on this, there was a concern expressed that if someone is going out of cycle, then they're bypassing the committee that had the chance to evaluate all the applications together and consider them relative to one another, and how that can be weighted and how much it is granted. So one of the suggestions to combat that was potentially, if there's an out-of-cycle application, to send it back to that same board, who would then determine if it meets a standard for being evaluated by the council, and then it would come to the council at that point. So that was one of the suggestions. And another reason against that was it's, I think the way it was explained is like, if mom says no, ask dad. And so we don't want to be receiving these out-of-cycle requests as a mechanism to bypass the committee, to not be considered in the group of others, and to get on the agenda, I guess, to expedite that process. We don't want to encourage that.
And I will attempt to summarize it, but George, where I'm sharing your comments, please jump in. But the executive made a very good point, I thought, in that we should consider the ability to maximize the dollars, and that if there are matching funds required, and in this case, and the applicant's going to need funding from other sources or some other way, if there's a change that comes along that makes it so that off cycle, they have a great opportunity, and we have the opportunity to maximize the benefit of this tax program, shouldn't we allow it? So those were, how'd I do?
Yeah, appreciate, Mark, that you would even attribute the discussion. I think the council is sophisticated enough to make a decision. I think the RAPS board is sophisticated enough to make a decision. I don't know why the council should regulate its own decision-making by adding a set of steps you have to go through. If somebody's out of cycle, they come here and you decide what. The truth of the matter is we've had one out of cycle that you approved. I think over the last 20 years, have there been any others?
There was one the year before that.
So now we've got a third one that's appeared this time. Doesn't sound like it's a tidal wave of out of cycle things. I'm interested in hearing why they didn't make and why it's important. We've got cash sitting in our till that we've collected from citizens. If both you and the RAPS board think we should fund something, I don't know why we wouldn't want to fund it. Now, if you don't think we ought to fund it, or the RAPS board doesn't, fine. But the RAPS board are sophisticated people. They're going through 200 of these. And if they see something that they don't think cuts the mustard, they're not going to forget what they did 4 months ago. Sometimes we encumber ourselves with a set of rules that just make it more and more difficult to get to the end of the row. That's my reaction to the whole effort here.
So what was the O&P board's vote?
Well,
we passed the 3 amendments here.
So
they didn't say yay or nay, they just added 3 amendments.
As Andrew summarized, 1, 2, and 3 were implemented and recommended by O&P that this body make those changes. And then it was, no change was recommended to what is covered by item 4 on this printout. So we have the ability to accept an off-cycle application currently, and there's no recommendation from O&P to strengthen that or enhance its restrictions. The O&P's recommendation was to not alter it. It wasn't really a no restrictions or we need restrictions, right? But it was just, it works the way it is.
I like the way this is written. I personally feel like we should not take away our ability to consider things like the out-of-cycle applications. If we start being deluged with them, we have the ability as a council to just say no, and it'll very quickly come to a position where people understand what kind of things we're going to look at. The 2 that I have been a part of since I've been here were things that were totally out of, they just could not have been.
Extenuating.
Yeah, they're extenuating circumstances that nobody could have foreseen when the opera company canceled their season at the last minute and the theaters were in trouble. if we hadn't had the ability to help shore those up, I think it would have been really, really difficult for
Economically.
the economics of our county. So I like the way this is written. I like the process where it comes to us first, then we vote to even consider it, then it goes back to the RAPS board. They thoroughly vet it and make a recommendation back to us, and then it has to be voted on a second time by the council too. So the first vote is just to consider it. The second vote is to accept it. And so that's the way it's written. And that's my personal thought, is that I like the way this is written. I do not want to put, if we try and put restrictions on it, we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot for some circumstance that comes up. I think we just have to use our good wisdom and judgment when those things come to us. And I think we have the ability to do that.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, I think we all received an email from
Mr. Jewell?
Mr. Jewell.
Yes.
Is that you?
Yes.
Thanks for the email.
Yes, thank you.
And he addressed about the fairness of it all. And I think sending it back to the RAPS committee, who is very familiar with the applications that were received, so they can judge them against the merits of the other applications, I think is a very good approach to seeing handling the entire process. So, this body will accept it and see if this really is an extenuating circumstance, and then sending it back to the RAPS committee, I think, is a good approach for them to evaluate against all of the other applications, having that background. So I do like the process and allowing us to have some flexibility.
Yeah, to the executive's point, we don't need to unnecessarily encumber ourselves, but it is not unprecedented that we would send something back to the planning commission for our recommendation. We still have the prerogative to vote on it, or COSAC or anything else. And I think there's wisdom in that. Maybe that takes the form of a policy rather than code.
I think it is very wise that we don't spend everything, that there is a pool that gives you that ability to where we don't have to, in a case of emergency and other things, dive into other funds. So I think it's wise that we do have that pool, and yes, that pool is sitting there, and it is for situations. And the two situations, one was it could have been a harsh economic bust that year for a lot of visitors, if we hadn't had that money to provide, for what was happening that summer. And there were so many of the companies that came together and they filled in a lot of those spots, and it was a huge success. The other one that you mentioned, what happened is they says, well, they had a big donations, they had so much funding, but they figured that we were gonna do it in 2 years. But then in the process, they got a really, if they would have just ordered it that year because of costs and stuff, they got a huge savings if they would have then gotten the full amount and then do it all at once. And so that project, that's why they came to us on that project, and that's why we went ahead and allocated that other monies for that. Again, very tight window tight circumstances as to what happened there. Sometimes it's really hard to walk away from someone's heart and their donations and matching funds to be able to get something done that was going to happen anyway, and time is one of those things that we can actually step up and utilize those. But I still think it's very wise what the RAPS committee, when they put that, they do not purposely spend everything. And there are, there's a lot of asks also from just like certain cities, they'll have a whole bunch. And it's, basically it's kind of like you send the Christmas list of a whole bunch of things in hopes that we can get some of them versus this is what we really need. And that's what the RAPS committee does an extremely good job in vetting it. And so I think what the OMP's done here, I'm in favor of 1, 2, and 3, what you've done. I'm glad it was just simple majority because that's what it is when they give that advice to us initially. It is just by majority. I don't think it needs to change there either.
Is that a motion?
I move that we approve, let's see, where are we at here? I move that we approve, and this is pending, so I move we approve ordinance 2026-34, the amending maps and restaurant tax governance and allocation procedures as given to us.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I think you did a good job of telling us why you wanted to make that motion, so.
Can I take 30 seconds?
I'm sorry, not right this minute.
Thanks for the
Yes, I did read your email. Okay.
That's not how it works.
Not how it works, sir.
Gotcha.
I'm so sorry.
It's not denying your public input, it's
know.
timing.
Out in our little town of Paradise, we figured 30 seconds at any time that somebody's worried about, but that's okay.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Mr. Jewell, I would love to speak to you after the meeting. And I do appreciate your email. Okay, request to authorize an out-of-cycle review. So we've got, okay, first of all, we have to sign the resolution we just
I would
signed.
recommend a 5-minute recess.
Okay. All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess so that we can sign this resolution before we consider. It doesn't even have to be 5 minutes. We're gonna take a 1-minute recess.
Is that a challenge?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, we could
Five.
take a couple minutes.
Okay, we'll reconvene shortly. Hurry. Go ahead and reconvene. For everyone, thank you for your patience. We had to get some paperwork done and signed so that we can move forward with this. The next thing on our agenda is 9C. We'll turn some time over to Alma, our county grant administrator.
Alma Burgess, grant administrator, and also the administrator for the Wraps and Restaurant Tax Program. So after approval of the amended code, there is two, and I'll just discuss the one for right now. An out-of-cycle application request. This is from the American West Heritage Center. This is a tractor barn construction. You have that information in your packet. I'll just briefly explain. The American West Heritage Center requests $250,000 to complete the tractor barn. And the reason for this is they started the project and they needed to get it completed. This has already come to your purview, and in good faith you approved it with a recommendation. So we just need to go through the proper process. And so I'm presenting that to you as an out-of-cycle application request from the American West Heritage Center.
Okay, and I just want to clarify a couple things, that when they originally asked for $250,000, they were awarded half of that.
That's right.
And they got it.
Correct.
And then the idea was they would apply for the other 125 the next year. In the meantime, they received a matching grant that was one-to-one. It was one-to-one match. We already discussed this as a council and approved it. The process did not get completed where they actually got a check. They have already spent that money because of the commitment we made to them to provide that money. So it's not $250,000. We're considering 125.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to do the process that we just passed. I would accept a motion that we authorize sending this application back to the RAPS board to give a recommendation back to us so that we can finally get this taken care of. So if anyone wants to discuss that further or ask for more clarification, I would accept a motion on that.
I move to authorize an out-of-cycle review and convene the RAPS committee to consider a capital facility application for the American West Heritage Center for tractor barn construction.
Second.
Been moved and second that we authorize this out-of-cycle review that has been brought to us. Any further discussion about that?
Can we, is there a possibility at all of, upon their approval, it is also approved by us?
I don't think so.
Do we
I think
have
we
to
do.
go
I think
through
we
it
just
again?
laid it. We just passed
What a
a.
merry-go-round.
You know what? We're going to follow that. We're going to follow what we
I
just
know.
passed.
I know, but, you know what I'm saying, there's,
We'll get it done. We'll get it done, and we'll get them.
because this is the second time that we've approved this,
I know.
so.
We're going to go through the motions of making
Okay.
sure that we do it correctly. Any further discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. All right, the next one. Go ahead, Alma.
The second out-of-cycle application request is from the Kane School of Arts for the Kane Lyric Theater. The reason being for this is they just went through an upgrade, a $5.5 million upgrade to the Lyric Theater. But one of the things that was not addressed was the seating. The seating is very old, and it is in need of repair and renovation. The reason that they are requesting is because they do have a private donor has offered a $50,000 match. And there is a window of time that when the theater is not being used, that they can take care of this renovation to improve the seating and some of the other things that they would do, redo the flooring and the lighting, just to make it a little more comfortable. But there is a window of time when they don't have theater productions scheduled, and they would like to ask for money. Their request is, the total project is $350,000. They are requesting $300,000 is the amount that they're being asked for. And anyway, you have that additional information in your packets as well.
Okay. This is a totally different situation.
The only question I had is that, was it some planning issues, or did they not even put an application or attempt to put an application for this at the time when they were due?
They did not put in an application.
And did they not have the matching money at that point solidified, or did that come later?
I don't know.
Okay.
Answer to that question. The Lyric Theater did put in an application, but it was for their production aspect and not for this.
I remember that. We did a tour on that, so whoever was with me on that time, so.
Did they put out the floor part for bids, or did they just choose somebody?
I believe it was a bid. I think there was a bid included with your information here. I think it was a bid.
Okay. What other questions do you guys have for Alma about this project, or things you'd like to discuss?
The applicant is here and can answer those questions.
Would you guys would you have questions for the applicant that you'd like to ask? Anybody?
We can ask them about the bidding process that we don't have to speculate on.
Do you want to?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, Brian,
let's
do you want to
hear that. That's at least a vague question in my mind that I'd like to get
Brian,
answered.
I just had to go and stand here. Let us have it, please.
Yeah. State your name, please.
I'm Brian Steed. I'm the Vice President of Government and External Relations. Nick, come up here. You actually know things. I'm joined by Nick Morrison. What is your official title?
Professor of Music and Director of the Kane School of the Arts.
And we recently have gone through a restructure at the university. Before this point, you were the dean of the College of the Arts before it was merged together with the College of Science. In terms of the bidding process, yes, this project was fully bid at the time. And as to the question from Councilman Erickson, we did not have the $50,000 gift at the time that the RAPS applications were due.
Okay.
So I just have a question. I don't know if you know that, but who gets the profits from this? Do they split it between the university and the county, or how does that work?
It's a fantastic question. Right? In the business of arts presenting, which is what this theater is for, ticket revenue typically accounts for about 25 to 30% of the cost of running a season. The balance comes from government support and private donations. So it would be unusual to have profits to split at the end of any sort of event. What we try to do, and we've always tried to do at the Lyric, is to float on our own keel. This last summer, the season, even after being closed for a whole year, had its highest gross ever at just under $200,000. It costs us close to $450,000 or $500,000 to produce the season. So the university contributes substantially to that. We're grateful that RAPS contributes in small part to that, and the rest we raise from donors like Brian and his wife and others, and many folks in the community who contribute to these activities. And it's a pretty typical model for arts organizations that if you think about those three legs of the footstool, public, private, and ticket sales.
And I'll just say as to the benefit, I mean, I would argue that we all share in the benefit of it. This year we had a very robust season. They were in direct running shows at the same time as the Utah Opera Company and still had record numbers of sales this year. And I think the Lyric Theater, because of its location, is really in the heart of really what I consider the arts district of Logan, and certainly serves the community in a way that you wouldn't expect a community our size to have.
So is this why they call it nonprofit? I figured that, so. Thought that was a simple way of saying it. This is a nonprofit organization, so.
But there are ventures that don't make money, even though they are for-profit, right? I mean, that's the difference.
Yes, they go broke.
Okay, any?
That's good.
I just have a couple of questions. The configuration of the seats is a particular problem because it's a single row, right?
It's a single row clear across the theater. From our best research, we think they would probably put in the 40s or 50s when people were shorter and thinner.
What did you say?
I didn't want to bring it.
Shots fired.
The present company accepted. I'm sure the 19-inch wide seats.
That's an honest man, by the way.
The industry standard now is 22. I'm sure the height off the floor is fine for me, but I'm 80, or for you all, but I'm 80% legs, right? The height off the floor is tricky, and getting in and out, you know, if somebody needs to leave to take a child to the restroom, the whole row has to stand up and get out in the middle of the production.
They don't just have to stand up, they have to get out of the row. You cannot get by someone in the row.
The whole row has to.
Could you address the timing issue for us? If I understand it, you have a gap in your season?
We do. The next production we have scheduled is on the 14th of January. There's time to accomplish this work. That's for two reasons. One is we haven't had a lot of community rentals for several years because the theater had been closed in the winters for life safety issues. The second reason is we didn't know how many punch list items there would be after the lyric season this summer. So we created a window in case there were problems that we could go back in and fix them. And when this opportunity with the donation came up, we were able to talk to the contractor that had experience working in the theater. Their superintendent is also available to run the project. These are folks with recent experience in the theater, and we think they can actually have this. We're confident they can actually have everything in place by the 11th of January so that we can open back on the 14th. Trying to do it later would potentially push back the lyric season. Once we open the theater, we need the momentum, right, to keep people interested in going in it. Not just the audience, but community groups that may want to use it. Like the Ghost Tour. I mean, we'll still host them in the lobby, right, during this. But it's a community venue as much as it is a Utah State venue. We're just happy to have a venue in the heart of the community.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Okay, and before we ask for a vote, I just want to make it clear, this is for us to vote to send it back to the RAPS committee for a recommendation. We're not voting on whether we approve this project.
Would move to send this Kane School of the Arts for Kane Lyric Theater seating reconfiguration and replacement back to the RAPS committee.
Second.
For
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Measure my seat.
Anyone else want to speak to that?
Yeah, I just appreciate his honesty and candid as to why they really need the seats.
Okay.
So.
All right, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. I think the RAPS committee meets tomorrow, if I understand correctly.
What time?
11.
11 o'clock. Okay, all right. UAC convention, everybody set up for that. I need to ask, is there anybody else who needs to come home Wednesday night besides me? So I'm gonna have to get myself home.
Sorry, Sandy.
That's all right.
Because you're carpooling the way there?
Huh?
You're carpooling on the way there?
No, I was gonna hopefully carpool both, but that's not gonna work.
Wednesday and Thursday, is that
Yeah,
the
the-
days?
It'll be Wednesday and Thursday. Bryson and I have been working on the basket to represent our county. And Catherine's gonna help put some donations in it. We always have the best basket.
It's true, and Sean's helping too.
Yeah, Sean Milne's helping. yeah, if anybody has any further things they want to donate to that basket.
We get quite a bit from Utah State.
I think I could get him some chocolates.
Yeah.
Can I say that louder?
Yeah,
Did-
maybe a little louder.
Did we get some donation stuff from Utah State that we could put in that
Like a
basket?
Nice, like a nice hoodie or something. Yes, we'd love it, a really good hoodie.
No, but as we've gone over the years, it's like some of the other baskets from the other counties have gotten a little bit smaller, and ours always is the best one. So I'm really happy that we can represent Cache County at UAC. All right, council member reports. Let's start with Mark tonight.
OMP was the only thing I've met on or been a part of since. I have a meeting with the county clerk for the liaisonships next week, but
Okay.
I've said enough tonight, thank you.
Okay, Catherine.
I'm gonna let Keegan report on our meeting we had last night and.
Okay, Nolan.
Nothing.
All right, our meeting last night that Catherine is referring to is our first rec center board committee meeting.
And I heard you were voted as the chair.
I was voted as the chair.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So there's a lot of appetite from the members to get going on the data. So Whitney from VCBO gave a similar presentation that she gave to the council in May, I believe that was, on the different options. Catherine and I did not want to speak for the council when we said there probably isn't a desire to put 3 rec center facilities on the ballot at $180 million, but we didn't want to speak in your behalf, but I'm seeing some nods. So one of the prerogatives of the committee was to determine how many rec center facilities there could be, because there were 3 presented. So we may have already narrowed it down to 2 in the first meeting, so we're making progress. The type of data that they're looking at are some of the survey data of how much people would be willing to pay. There's survey data on what amenities they want best. So just to remind you of the broad goals of this committee, by March 1st, they're delivering a recommendation to us of what, if anything, we should put on the ballot. So to do that, they're going to determine what this facility should be, if anything. They're going to determine what amenities it will include, and then they're going to make a recommendation on how it's going to be run. So there is a possibility, which we did introduce, that a consensus will not be made, and that individual cities may decide to team up and form a district or do their own thing. So that is a possibility that they may recommend to us, don't put anything on the ballot. So part of that is they are interested in touring facilities, a small, medium, and large, so they have an idea of how much money gets you what. And one of those facilities is in Provo. That would be considered a large facility. And the Provo rec director, or manager I reached out to, he is open to giving us a tour of the facility on the evening, I think it's Wednesday evening, while we're at UAC, so we don't have to take a separate trip. And so if anyone is interested from the council in attending that, and if anyone is interested in the committee, I've extended that invitation. So if you're interested, just get back to me, and that will be the start of that. So they're anxious to meet every week, so they're willing to do that. So we're confident we can meet that March 1st deadline.
Okay.
And I didn't have anything else from any of the others. I'm just excited. I want to echo what Dave said about the airport board. We have a sponsor board now, and I think we can get an authority board going, and that's exciting. There's a lot of opportunity there.
Thanks.
Okay, Joanne.
I just want to remind y'all of the invitation I passed out with the Republican women are sponsoring Constitution Day, on Constitution Day, September 17th. It'll be here in this room. So I hope you'll all come and support it. It's going to be very inspiring, and a lot of work and organization's gone into it.
Okay, thank you. All right, I feel like I'm always busy, but I can't think of anything specific to share, so I'll just say we'll go ahead and take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Done.
If anybody doesn't want their newspaper, I will take it.
Oh. This one?
Because when I went to make a fire, I didn't have any newspaper. And I realized this is about the only newspaper.
I read what I needed to read.
Mark?
Thank you.
These are little